The rain battered the windows of Daniel Harper's modest Seattle home, each drop a hammer against his resolve. At 47, he stood in the living room, the weight of a secret he'd carried for decades pressing against his chest like a stone. Tonight, he would tell his daughters, Emma and Lily, the truth: he was gay, and he could no longer live a lie. Daniel's hands trembled as he held the divorce papers, the ink still fresh from his meeting with Claire, his wife of 25 years. Their marriage had been a quiet partnership, built on mutual respect but hollowed out by unspoken truths. Claire had known somehow. She'd always known, but she'd stayed, hoping love could bridge the gap. It hadn't. Last week, she'd sat across from him at their kitchen table, her eyes soft but resolute. "You need to live your truth, Dan," she'd said, her voice breaking. "We both do." The divorce was mutual, but the aftermath was a storm he wasn't ready to face. Emma, 19, burst through the front door, her rain-soaked hoodie dripping onto the hardwood. "Dad, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her voice was light, but her eyes, those sharp, hazel eyes inherited from her mother, caught the tension in his posture. Lily, 22, followed, her movements deliberate, her dark hair pulled into a tight bun. She'd always been the quieter one, but her silence carried a weight that made Daniel's stomach twist. "Sit down, girls," Daniel said, his voice barely above a whisper. The room felt too small, the air too thick. He gestured to the worn leather couch, where they'd spent countless nights watching old movies, laughing over popcorn. Now, it felt like a courtroom. Emma frowned, dropping her bag. "What's going on? Is Mom okay?" "Your mom's fine," Daniel said, his throat tight. This is about me." He paused, the words he'd rehearsed for weeks dissolving under their gaze. "I'm gay." The silence that followed was deafening. Emma's mouth parted, but no sound came. Lily's arms crossed, her jaw tightening as she stared at the floor. Daniel's heart pounded, each beat a plea for them to understand. He'd spent years teaching history at Lincoln High, shaping young minds with stories of courage and change. But this was the hardest lesson he'd ever had to give. "I've known since I was a kid," he continued, his voice cracking. "I thought I could bury it, be the husband and father you needed. But I can't anymore. Your mom and we're getting divorced. She deserves someone who can love her fully, and I need to be honest with myself. With you." Emma's face crumpled, tears welling. "You've been lying to us this whole time." Her voice was raw, a mix of hurt and disbelief. She clutched the family photo on the coffee table, her fingers tracing the frame as if it could anchor her to the past. Lily's eyes flicked up, sharp and cold. "So, what? You're just throwing away our family. For what, Dad? To find yourself." Her words cut deep, each one a blade honed by years of quiet observation. Daniel's knees buckled, and he sank into the armchair. "I'm not throwing anything away. I love you both more than anything. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not." Emma stood, her hands shaking. "I need air," she muttered, storming toward the door. Lily followed, her silence louder than any shout. The door slammed, and Daniel was alone, the rain outside mirroring the storm within. Over the next week, the house became a battleground of silence and sharp words. Emma threw herself into her college classes, avoiding Daniel's calls. Lily, home from grad school, stayed in her room, her responses clipped when he tried to talk. Daniel felt like a stranger in his own home, his daughter's reactions carving deeper wounds than he'd imagined. He turned to his journal, a habit he'd kept since his 20s. Pages filled with unspoken desires, fears, and dreams now held his confession. "I thought telling the truth would set me free. Instead, It's breaking my family apart. He wrote about the boy he'd loved in high school, a fleeting summer romance buried under years of shame. He wrote about Claire, her grace in letting him go. And he wrote about his daughters, praying they'd find a way to forgive him. One evening, Daniel found Emma in the kitchen, staring at a photo of them at her high school graduation. "I don't get it, Dad," she said, her voice soft but jagged. "How do you just change everything? Were we not enough?" Her words hit like a punch. "You and Lily are everything," Daniel said, stepping closer. "This isn't about you not being enough. It's about me trying to be whole, so I can be the dad you deserve." Emma's eyes searched his, looking for the father she'd always known. "I need time," she said finally, turning away. Daniel nodded, his heart aching but hopeful. Time, he thought, might be the only bridge left. As days turned to weeks, Daniel began attending a local support group for older LGBTQ+ individuals. There, he met Sam, a 50-year-old artist with a warm smile and a story not unlike his own. Sam's ease with his identity was a beacon for Daniel, a glimpse of what life could be. They talked for hours over coffee, Sam's laughter easing the weight Daniel carried. But even as he felt a spark of something new, guilt gnawed at him. How could he find joy when his daughters were still reeling? Daniel's mornings began with a ritual: coffee, his journal, and a quiet hope that today might bring a thaw in the frost between him and his daughters. The Seattle rain had softened to a drizzle, but the chill in his home lingered. Emma's avoidance had become a pattern: to leave early for her community college classes, her texts brief and noncommittal. Lily, meanwhile, had taken to working late at her internship, her door closed when she was home. Daniel felt like a ghost, haunting his own life. At Lincoln High, where he taught, Daniel found solace in routine. His students, oblivious to his personal turmoil, filled the classroom with energy. He was discussing the civil rights movement one morning when a student, Mia, raised her hand. "Mr. Harper, how do you think people find the courage to stand up for who they are, even when it's hard?" Her question, innocent and earnest, pierced him. He paused, his throat tightening. "Courage," he said, "comes from knowing that living authentically is worth the cost, even when it hurts." His voice wavered, and he quickly moved on, but Mia's eyes lingered on him, as if she sensed the weight behind his words. After class, Daniel lingered in the empty classroom, staring at a photo on his desk: him, Claire, and the girls at a lake house vacation years ago. He'd been happy then, or so he'd thought. The truth was, he'd been hiding, even from himself. Coming out at 47 wasn't just about admitting he was gay. It was about unraveling a life built on half-truths. The cost, he was learning, was his daughter's trust. That evening, Daniel attended another support group meeting. Sam was there, his presence a quiet comfort. Over coffee afterward, Sam shared his own story, coming out at 40, losing friends, but finding a community that embraced him. "It's not easy," Sam said, his eyes kind. "But you're not alone, Daniel. You're allowed to be happy." Daniel wanted to believe him, but the guilt was relentless. "My girls hate me," he admitted, stirring his coffee. "I don't know how to fix it." Sam leaned forward. "Give them time. They're grieving the family they thought they had. But they love you. That doesn't just vanish." The next day, Daniel found a note slipped under his bedroom door. It was from Lily, her handwriting sharp and precise. "I'm trying to understand, Dad. But it feels like you broke us. I'm staying with Mom for a bit." His heart sank. Claire had moved into a small apartment across town, and while they'd parted amicably, the distance between Daniel and his daughters felt like a chasm. He called Emma, hoping for a connection. She answered, her voice guarded. What do you want, Dad? Just to talk, he said. I miss you. There was a long pause. I miss you too, she said finally, her voice softening. But I'm so mad. I feel like I don't know you anymore. You do know me, Daniel said, his voice urgent. I'm still your dad. I hid a part of myself because I was scared. I'm not hiding anymore. Emma sighed. I don't know how to deal with this. I need space. Take all the time you need, Daniel said, though each word felt like a stone in his chest. I'll be here. The weeks that followed were a blur of small steps and setbacks. Daniel threw himself into his teaching, finding purpose in his students' questions. He started seeing Sam more often, their coffee dates turning into walks through Pike Place Market, where Sam's easy laughter made Daniel feel lighter. One evening, Sam invited him to an art gallery opening, a small event showcasing local queer artists. Daniel hesitated. Going felt like a step into a world he wasn't sure he belonged in yet. Go, Claire urged when he called her, seeking her perspective. You deserve to explore who you are, Dan. The girls will come around. They're just processing. Her words gave him courage. At the gallery, Daniel was struck by the vibrancy of the art, bold colors, raw emotions. Sam introduced him to friends, people who'd navigated their own coming-out journeys. For the first time, Daniel felt a sense of belonging, a flicker of hope that he could build a life true to himself without losing everything. But when he returned home, the house was empty. Lily was still with Claire, and Emma had left a post-it on the fridge at a friend's. Back tomorrow. The silence was crushing. Daniel opened his journal, pouring out his fears. I'm finding myself. But at what cost? What if my truth destroys the only family I've ever known? The next morning, Daniel woke to a text from Emma. Can we talk? Just you and me. His heart leapt. Maybe, just maybe, this was a start. Daniel met Emma at a small cafe near her college, a cozy spot with mismatched chairs and the scent of fresh pastries. She was already there, her hoodie swapped for a sweater, her hazel eyes scanning a textbook. When she saw him, she gave a small wave, but her smile was tight, guarded. Thanks for coming, Daniel said, sliding into the seat across from her. His hands fidgeted with the coffee menu, nerves buzzing. This was the first real conversation they'd had since his confession. Emma nodded, closing her book. I didn't know if I was ready, but I miss you, Dad, even if I'm still mad. Her honesty hit him like a wave, painful but hopeful. I'm so sorry I hurt you, he said, his voice low. I never wanted to. She looked away, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. I just don't get why you waited so long. Why now? Why after all these years? Daniel took a deep breath. I was scared. Growing up, being gay wasn't something you could just be. I thought if I built a family, did the right thing, I could make it go away. But it never did. And your mom, she deserved better than half of me. Emma's eyes softened, but her voice was sharp. What about us? Did we deserve a dad who was lying? The question stung, but he met her gaze. You deserved a dad who was whole. I'm trying to be that now, even if it's messy. They talked for an hour, Emma's questions probing but less angry than before. She asked about his past, about the boy he'd loved in high school, about why he'd stayed silent. Daniel answered as honestly as he could, each word a step toward rebuilding trust. When they parted, Emma hugged him a brief, hesitant embrace, but it was enough to spark hope. Back home, Daniel found a voicemail from Lily. I'm still with Mom, she said, her tone flat. I'm not ready to talk. Just don't push me, okay? The message was a blow, but he clung to the progress with Emma. one daughter at a time, he told himself. At school, Daniel's lessons took on new depth. He wove stories of resilience into his history classes, drawing parallels to personal struggles without revealing his own. His students noticed the change. One, a quiet boy named Javier, lingered after class. "Mr. Harper, you seem different lately. Like, more real." Daniel smiled, unsure how to respond, but grateful for the connection. His evenings with Sam grew more frequent. They explored Seattle's quieter corners, bookstores, parks, a jazz club tucked away in Capitol Hill. Sam's confidence in his identity was magnetic, and Daniel found himself opening up about his fears, his daughters, his guilt. One night, as they walked along the waterfront, Sam took his hand. The gesture was simple but electric, a reminder of a life Daniel had denied himself for so long. "I feel like I'm betraying them," Daniel admitted, staring at the dark water. "Like I shouldn't be happy until they're okay with me." Sam squeezed his hand. "You're allowed to live, Daniel. Your happiness doesn't negate your love for them. They'll see that in time." But time felt like a luxury Daniel didn't have. A week later, Claire called, her voice tense. "Lily's struggling, Dan. She's angry, but it's more than that. She feels like she's lost you." Daniel's chest tightened. "What can I do?" "Keep showing up," Claire said. "She's stubborn, like you, but she loves you." Inspired, Daniel wrote Lily a letter, pouring out his heart. He left it on her bed at Claire's apartment, hoping she'd read it. "I know I've hurt you," he wrote, "but you're my daughter, and nothing will ever change that. I'm here, whenever you're ready." Days later, Lily texted, "I read your letter. I'm not there yet, but thanks." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a crack in the wall. Meanwhile, Emma began texting more, sharing bits of her funny professor. A tough exam. One evening, she showed up at the house unannounced, carrying takeout. "Thought we could eat together," she said, her tone casual but her eyes searching. They sat at the kitchen table, laughing over old memories. And for a moment, it felt like before. But as Daniel drove home from a late support group meeting, his phone buzzed with a message from Lily. "I saw you with that guy." Who is he? The words were a jolt. She'd seen him with Sam. The fragile progress he'd made felt like it could shatter. Daniel stared at Lily's text, his heart racing as he pulled into his driveway. The streetlights cast long shadows, mirroring the dread creeping through him. "I saw you with that guy? Who is he?" The question wasn't just curiosity, it was an accusation, a challenge to the father she thought she knew. He typed a response, then deleted it. How could he explain Sam without making things worse? He called Claire instead, his voice shaking. "Lily saw me with Sam. She's upset. I don't know what to say." Claire sighed. "She's been asking about you. She drove by the house last night. Saw you two walking. She's not ready to talk, but she's watching you. Dan, be honest with her." The next morning, Daniel sat at his kitchen table, drafting a reply to Lily. "His name is Sam. He's a friend, someone who's helping me through this. I'd like you to meet him someday, when you're ready." He hit send, his stomach in knots, knowing the message might push her further away. At school, Daniel's focus wavered. His students noticed, one asking if he was okay. He brushed it off, but the weight of Lily's text lingered. During lunch, he confided in a colleague, Sarah, who'd always been a trusted friend. "My daughters are struggling with my coming out," he admitted. "I don't know how to reach them." Sarah, who'd navigated her own family's challenges, offered a gentle smile. "You're rewriting their history, Daniel. It's not just about you being gay, it's about them redefining what family means." Keep showing them you're still their dad. Her words echoed Claire's, grounding him. That evening, he invited Emma over, hoping to strengthen their fragile bond. She arrived with a hesitant smile, carrying a sketchbook. "I've been drawing again," she said, flipping through pages of vibrant landscapes. One sketch of family at a picnic. Their faces blurred stopped Daniel cold. "Is this us?" he asked, his voice soft. Emma nodded, her eyes downcast. "I don't know what we look like anymore, but I'm trying to figure it out." Daniel reached for her hand. "We're still us, Em. Just evolving." She squeezed his hand, a small gesture that felt like a lifeline. They talked late into the night, Emma sharing her fears about college, her future, and how his revelation had shaken her sense of stability. Daniel listened, his heart aching but full, knowing this was progress. Sam, meanwhile, became a steady presence. They met for dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant, where Sam shared stories of his own family's reactions to his coming out. "My sister didn't speak to me for a year," he said, twirling pasta on his fork. "But she came around. Your girls will too." Daniel wanted to believe him, but Lily's silence was a constant ache. He threw himself into his teaching, channeling his emotions into lessons about identity and resilience. His students responded, their discussions growing deeper, more personal. Javier, the quiet boy from earlier, approached him after class. "I think my brother might be gay," he said, his voice low. "How do I support him?" Daniel's heart swelled. "Just love him," he said. "Be there, even when it's hard." The advice was as much for himself as for Javier. A week later, Emma invited Daniel to a campus art show, a small step toward normalcy. He arrived to find her paintings displayed, vivid and emotional. One paisea figure standing at a crossroads, half in shadow, half in light, felt like a mirror of his own journey. "It's about you," Emma admitted, blushing. "I'm still mad, but I'm proud of you, too." Her words were a balm, but Lily's absence loomed. That night, Daniel found a new message from her. "I'm not ready to meet him, but I don't hate you. I just need time." It was a sliver of hope, fragile but real. As spring bloomed, Daniel and Sam grew closer. A tentative kiss one evening, under the cherry blossoms in a Seattle park, felt like a promise of joy, of a future Daniel hadn't dared imagine. But guilt lingered. How could he embrace this new life when Lily was still so far away? He wrote in his journal, "I'm falling for Sam, but my heart is split. I want my daughters to know this part of me, not fear it." The words were a prayer, a plea for reconciliation. The Seattle spring brought bursts of color, but Daniel's world felt gray without Lily's voice. Her texts were sporadic, each one a tightrope walk between hope and distance. Emma, though, was a growing light, started joining him for Sunday breakfasts. Their conversations a mix of cautious rebuilding and genuine warmth. Still, the absence of his eldest daughter gnawed at him, a reminder of the family he'd fractured. At school, Daniel's passion for teaching deepened. His history lessons became a canvas for exploring identity, from Stonewall to modern activism. His students leaned in, their questions bold and curious. One day, Mia, the student who'd asked about courage, stayed after class. "Mr. Harper, are you okay? You seem sad sometimes." Her concern caught him off guard. "I'm working through some things," he said, forcing a smile. "But teaching you all keeps me grounded." Mia nodded, then hesitated. "My uncle came out last year. It was hard for my mom, but she says love wins out. I hope it does for you too." Her words lingered, a small gift. Daniel carried them to his next support group meeting, where he shared his fears about Lily. "Sam, sitting beside him, offered a quiet suggestion. Maybe invite her to something neutral. Not about you or Sam, just about her. Inspired, Daniel texted Lily, "There's a lecture at your grad school next week on urban history. Want to go together? No pressure." To his surprise, she replied, "Maybe. I'll think about it." The lecture hall was packed, the air buzzing with academic energy. Daniel arrived early, his heart pounding as he scanned the crowd. When Lily appeared, her dark hair loose and her expression guarded, he felt a surge of hope. They sat together, the lecture a safe buffer. Afterward, they grabbed coffee, the conversation stilted but civil. "I miss you, Lil," Daniel said, his voice soft. "I know I've hurt you, but I'm still your dad." Lily stirred her coffee, her eyes distant. "I know you are. It's just, I feel like I lost the family I thought we were." Daniel nodded, his throat tight. "I can't change the past, but I want to build something new with you, if you'll let me." She didn't respond, but she didn't leave either. They sat in silence, a fragile truce. Meanwhile, Daniel's relationship with Sam deepened. They spent weekends exploring Seattle's art scene, Sam's passion for painting pulling Daniel into a world of color and expression. One evening, Sam showed him a canvas of vibrant abstract of two figures reaching across a divide. "It's us," Sam said, his voice warm. "Two people finding each other, despite everything." Daniel's heart swelled, but guilt shadowed his joy. He confided in Claire, who'd become an unexpected ally. "Lily's coming around. Slowly," she said. "But she's scared. She sees you moving on, and it feels like you're leaving her behind." Her words struck deep. Daniel decided to slow things with Sam, not out of doubt, but to give Lily space. Sam understood, his patience a quiet strength. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, squeezing Daniel's hand. At school, Javier approached Daniel again, this time with a shy smile. "I talked to my brother. He's scared, but I told him what you said about love. It helped." Daniel's eyes stung. If he could help one kid, maybe he could help his own. Emma, meanwhile, invited Daniel to a poetry reading at her college. Her poem, a raw exploration of family, loss, and forgiveness, brought tears to his eyes. Afterward, she hugged him tightly. "I'm not all the way there," she said, "but I'm trying, Dad." Lily's progress was slower. She agreed to another Outinga Museum exhibit but kept her distance. Her questions about Sam pointed. "Is he your boyfriend?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Not yet," Daniel said honestly. "But he's important to me. I'd love for you to meet him, when you're ready." Lily's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Maybe someday." That night, Daniel wrote in his journal, "I'm building two lives, one with Sam, one with my girls. I pray they can coexist." The hope was fragile, but it was enough to keep him going. Summer arrived, painting Seattle in hues of green and gold. Daniel's life settled into a rhythm, teaching time with Emma, cautious steps with Lily, and stolen moments with Sam. But the balance was precarious. Each step forward with one daughter, or with Sam threatening to tip the scales. Emma had become his anchor, their Sunday breakfasts a sacred ritual. She'd started sharing more, her sketches now including figures that resembled their family, their edges softer, less fractured. One morning, she brought up Sam. "You seem happier when you talk about him," she said, her tone curious. "Is it serious?" Daniel hesitated, stirring his coffee. "It could be, but I'm trying to take it slow, for you and Lily." Emma nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "I want you to be happy, Dad. It's just weird thinking of you with someone who's not Mom." "I know," Daniel said, his heart aching. I'm still figuring it out too. Lily, meanwhile, remained a puzzle. She'd agreed to occasional outings, a hike, a bookstore visit, but her walls were high. During one walk through a park, she stopped abruptly, her voice low. I saw Mom crying last week. She says she's okay, but I know she's not. How do you live with that? Daniel's chest tightened. I hate that I've hurt her. But she wanted this divorce as much as I did. We both needed to be free. Lily's eyes flashed. Free to what? Date that guy? Live some new life while we pick up the pieces. I'm not replacing you, Daniel said, his voice breaking. I'm trying to be honest. For the first time in my life. She looked away, her silence heavy. But she didn't walk away, and that was something. At school, Daniel's students continued to inspire him. Mia and Javier started an LGBTQ+ ally club, inviting him to be their faculty advisor. He hesitated, worried about blurring personal and professional lines. But their enthusiasm won him over. The club's first meeting was small but vibrant. Students sharing stories of acceptance and struggle. Daniel listened, his own journey mirrored in their words. Sam, too, was a steady light. They spent an evening painting together at his studio. Daniel's clumsy brushstrokes a contrast to Sam's fluid ones. You're not half bad, Sam teased, wiping paint from Daniel's cheek. The moment felt intimate, a glimpse of a future Daniel craved but feared. That night, he wrote in his journal, I'm falling in love, but I'm terrified. What if Lily never accepts this? What if I lose her for good? A breakthrough came unexpectedly. Lily texted, asking to meet at a neutral Spoda diner near her grad school. When Daniel arrived, she was already there, her expression softer than usual. I've been talking to Mom, she said, her voice steady. She says you've always been a good dad, even if you were hiding. I'm trying to believe her. Daniel's eyes stung. I'll keep showing you, Lil. I promise. She nodded, then hesitated. Tell me about Sam. Not everything. Just who he is. It was a small opening, but Daniel seized it. He described Sam's kindness, his art, his humor, careful not to push too far. Lily listened, her face unreadable but attentive. When they parted, she hugged him a brief, stiff embrace, but it was the first in months. Emma, meanwhile, surprised Daniel by asking to meet Sam. They arranged a casual coffee date, and Sam's warmth put Emma at ease. You're not what I expected, she said, smiling shyly. But you make Dad smile. So, that's something. The moment was a victory, but Lily's tentative steps kept Daniel grounded. He invited her to a family dinner at Claire's apartment, hoping to bridge the gap. Claire, ever the mediator, welcomed the idea. She's coming around, she told Daniel. Just keep being you. As the dinner approached, Daniel's nerves frayed. He wanted his daughters to see his truth, not as a betrayal, but as a step toward wholeness. The night held promise and peril. The dinner at Claire's apartment was a gamble. A fragile thread stretched across the chasm between Daniel's past and future. The small dining room smelled of rosemary and roasted chicken, Claire's signature dish. Emma arrived first, her smile bright but nervous. Lily followed, her expression guarded but present. Daniel's heart raced as he set the table, each clink of silverware a countdown to the moment he'd been both dreading and hoping for. Claire, ever the peacemaker, kept the conversation light, asking about Emma's art and Lily's grad school projects. But the air was thick with unspoken questions. Halfway through the meal, Lily set down her fork, her eyes fixed on Daniel. So, Dad, she said, her voice steady but sharp. Are you bringing Sam to things like this now? The table fell silent. Emma glanced at Daniel, her eyes wide. Claire reached for her wine glass, her calm unshaken. Daniel took a breath, choosing his words carefully. "Not tonight," he said. "This is about user family. But Sam's part of my life, and I'd love for you to meet him when you're ready." Lily's jaw tightened, but she didn't look away. "And if I'm never ready?" Daniel's chest ached, but he held her gaze. "Then I'll keep waiting. You're my daughter, Lil. Nothing changes that." Emma jumped in, her voice soft. "I met Sam. He's nice. He cares about Dad." Her words were a bridge, tentative but real. Lily's eyes flicked to Emma, then back to Daniel. "I just don't get how you can just start over. Like the last 25 years didn't happen." "They happened," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "Every moment with you, your mom, our family's everything to me. Coming out doesn't erase that. It's me trying to be honest, so I can be the dad you both deserve." Claire reached for Lily's hand. "Your dad's still the man who taught you to ride a bike, who stayed up all night when you had the flu. He's just more of himself now." Lily's eyes glistened, but she didn't pull away. The rest of the dinner passed quietly, the tension easing but not gone. When Lily hugged Daniel goodbye, her embrace was longer, softer. "I'm trying," she whispered. He nodded, tears in his eyes. The next week, Daniel threw himself into his teaching. The LGBTQ+ Ally Club, a new source of purpose. The students planned a pride event, and Javier asked Daniel to speak. "You're like a role model," he said, blushing. Daniel agreed, though the weight of the word felt heavy. Sam supported him, attending the event and cheering from the crowd. Daniel's speech was simple but raw, sharing his journey without naming his daughters. The students' applause was a balm, but his thoughts were with Lily. He texted her afterward, "Spoke at a school pride event today. Thought of you. Love you." To his shock, she replied, "I'm proud of you. Still processing, but I'm proud." The words were a lifeline. Emma, meanwhile, invited Daniel and Sam to her next art show. Lily declined to join, but sent a text, "Tell Emma I'll see her stuff another time." It was progress, small but real. As summer faded, Daniel and Sam grew closer, their relationship a quiet joy. One evening, under the stars at a rooftop bar, Sam kissed him, and Daniel let himself feel the fullness of it, no guilt, no fear. "I love you," Sam said, his voice steady. "I love you too," Daniel replied, the words a revelation. He wrote in his journal that night, "I'm building a life I never thought I could have. But my girls are still my heart." The school year loomed, and with it, a chance to bring his worlds together. Emma suggested a family picnic, inviting Sam. Lily agreed to come, a tentative step. Daniel's hope soared, but fear lingered. Would this be the moment they'd heal, or break apart for good? The picnic was set for a crisp September afternoon at Golden Gardens Park, the Puget Sound sparkling under a rare clear sky. Daniel arrived early, spreading a blanket and setting out Claire's homemade lemonade and sandwiches. Emma was next, her sketchbook tucked under her arm, her smile bright. Sam followed, carrying a cooler, his presence a quiet question mark. Lily's arrival was uncertain, each passing minute tightening Daniel's chest. Emma sensed his nerves. "She'll come, Dad," she said, squeezing his hand. "She's been talking to me. She's trying." When Lily's car pulled up, Daniel's heart leapt. She stepped out, her dark hair catching the breeze, her expression unreadable but not hostile. She nodded at Sam, a small acknowledgement, and sat on the blanket, her posture stiff but present. The afternoon unfolded slowly, the group tiptoeing around the weight of the moment. Emma filled the silence with stories of her latest art project, her enthusiasm infectious. Sam chimed in, sharing a funny story about a painting gone wrong, and even Lily cracked a smile. Daniel watched, his heart swelling at the sight of his daughters and Sam together, however fragile the harmony. As the sun dipped, Lily spoke up, her voice low. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot. About you. About us. I was so mad because it felt like you were choosing this new life over us. But I see you trying. With me. With Emma. With Mom." Daniel's throat tightened. "I'd never choose anything over you. You and Emma are my world." Lily nodded, her eyes glistening. "I know. I met with Mom's therapist last week. She helped me see that you coming out isn't about abandoning us. It's about you being you." She glanced at Sam. "I'm not ready to be best friends or anything, but I want to try." Sam smiled gently. "No pressure. I'm just happy to be here." Emma reached for Lily's hand, her voice soft. "We're still a family, right? Just different." Lily squeezed her hand. "Yeah, different." The moment wasn't perfect. There were still shadows. Still healing to Dobit, it was enough. Daniel felt a weight lift, the first true breath he'd taken in months. As they packed up, Lily hugged him, her embrace fierce and real. "I love you, Dad," she whispered. "I'm sorry it took so long." "I love you too," he said, tears falling. "Always." The drive home was quiet, Sam's hand resting on Daniel's. At home, Daniel opened his journal. The page is now a chronicle of pain and hope. He wrote, "Today, we were a family again. Not the same, but stronger for it. I'm whole, and they're still mine." Months later, the school year ended with the Pride event Daniel's students had planned. Lily and Emma both attended, their presence a quiet triumph. Lily even spoke with Sam, asking about his art with cautious curiosity. Emma's painting a vibrant family portrait, their faces clear and smiling, hung in the school's hallway, a testament to their journey. Daniel stood with Sam, watching his daughters laugh with Claire, who joined them. The wounds weren't gone, but they were healing, stitched together by time, honesty, and love. He'd lost a marriage, but gained himself. His daughters' reactions had shaken his soul, but their love had rebuilt it. As the event ended, a student approached, holding a rainbow flag. "For you, Mr. Harper," she said. "For being you." Daniel took it, his heart full. He was a teacher, a father, a partner, and, finally, himself.